Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years.
And we are celebrating Valentine's Day a couple of days early, and I know a lot of people are getting ready to celebrate Super Bowl, so we've got a lot of things going on today. But first of all, I want to welcome everybody.
Welcome! Yay!
Yeah, that's pretty darn great having you here. Our wonderful Reverend Janet is not feeling well this morning, and so immediately got on the phone and we called Tim and said, "Tim, do you have a song for us today?" And he said, "Sure, I do." So I'm so excited about that. Yay, Tim! And we have, now, before I even forget, anybody have a birthday coming up this week?
In July. Oh, this week.
July's just around the corner.
Yeah, July's just around the corner. Thank you so very much, Corky. And I want you all to put Corky in your prayers. We're getting a call from the doctor again this week, and she needs to have another surgery. And somehow her shoulder is not healing in the position it should be. So just put her in your prayers that this next surgery is going to be successful. And if any of you ever want to know what we need, call and we'll tell you. We are so lucky to have people bringing us to church, and because she's still not supposed to be driving, and so we have people going to the store. So if anytime you have an extra 20 minutes to an hour, give us a buzz and say, "Hey, what do you need?"
Ice cream.
You know, love your
Ice cream.
Of course, he needs ice cream no matter what. That's one of the things you can bet on. Okay. Good morning, Ed. You're feeling well this morning. Ed. And do we have anybody on Zoom?
Yes.
Good. Are you going to keep it a secret, or do we get to know?
Drum roll. Let's
Yay!
see. It looks like we have Susan, Sky, Patty, Joyce, Laura, Jean, iPhone 11, which is moi, Diane, and Chen Lee.
Yay! We'll tell them all, very happy Valentine's Day, okay? So we are so excited to have everybody here. And I'd like to know, with all the things that are going on, anybody here feel the need to have us give you a special prayer this morning? Anyone going through a rough time that just feels, yeah, Valerie, anybody else? Okay, yeah. And I know our Dr. Eileen, Christine, and all these people, as we wait for our Maria to come in. Maria, what we're doing, we're asking if anybody needs a special prayer today. So if you have anybody you can think of, you can just kind of say their name. All these people are saying right now they need some help. Because we're going to start this morning with a prayer of exactly that. So if you don't, just close your eyes and take a nice deep breath. Dear Mother, Father God, there are many on our planet. They're in extreme need. A need for clothing, a need for food. A need for a house that doesn't shake and fall down or burn down or flood out. They also need to have your love and support. And people right here today, this morning, who are going through a difficult time in their lives. We ask for all these people, all of you God's children, your children, to feel safe, to feel protected, to feel loved, to feel appreciated, and maybe just for an hour, or a day, or a month. Let's take that little bit of energy we receive from God today and take it and use it in our lives to make life look not so bleak, but with sunshine, joy, laughter, and peace. Each one of you praying for peace on earth will help all of those in a very, very difficult time. So with your eyes closed, I want you to breathe whatever silent prayer you grew up as a child. And you can do them out loud if you want, but let's feel that energy of prayer within you, of how strong it was when you were little. And when you're ready, just say, Amen. Dear Mother, Father, God, we're sending our prayers this morning. Each one of them is individual, but they're all part of a wonderful, wonderful whole. A group of people praying to one another. And we thank you for listening to us this morning. And so it is.
So it is.
Well, good morning, good morning. There is just so much going on. I don't know about you, but there's days where I just can't watch the news. Just cannot, because there's not a thing I can do except pray. You know, when I watch them saving babies in Turkey or Syria, and I watch them hauling people out from under the rubble, I just go, bless you, and pray for you. But I know there's just times when you get to that point of saying, what is happening? And then something comes into our lives that makes us realize, Kirky, can I have a sip of that coffee? It makes us realize that stuff's been going on forever. Imagine how the people felt in Noah's time. And they knew that the water was coming, and they could tell, and that the water was rising. And yet they took care of it, didn't they? They found some way to talk to Creator and get some help. So right now, that's what I'm asking you all to do. Keep putting out prayers to Creator. And don't feel that it's silly to ask for help. You all have that gift to be able to do that. Okay. Did you bring her another cup of coffee? Thank you, Kevin.
Coffee for everybody.
Coffee for everybody. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for making coffee, April.
Yes, April, thank you so much for making the coffee. We really do appreciate it. Don't let me forget I put this in the podium. I think I have a small problem.
Well, that would be a surprise. You want a cup of coffee?
Yeah, I would love one. And because, you know, since I'm coffee, I'm gonna turn the podium over to our wonderful Dr. Eileen, because she's going through a time she needs to talk to God too. So I'm going to let her do our meditation. So everybody could get comfortable. Put your feet flat on the floor. The wonderful Tim is going to come up here and accompany her. I'm going to grab my coffee and sit down, so give you a place to stand. How's that? Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And yeah, you know, there are those times when we go into prayer, but to me, there's also those times when we say, hey, God, it's me. Have you got a minute? I need to talk. And while there is always that part of us that trusts and knows that we're being taken care of and watched over, it's okay to still be scared. It's okay to still say, I know you're there. It's just right now I'm scared. So everyone take a nice deep breath in and let it out. And as you exhale, just let anything weighing on your body, your mind, or your spirit just kind of fall aside into a little basket that's called your care basket. Because you don't have to hold it right now. And I want you to picture yourself walking into a building. It's a big business building. Lots of glass, and there's a doorman at the door who sees you and automatically smiles and waves you in. You walk up to a receptionist desk, and it's large and beautiful, and the lobby is magnificent. There's fountains. And you walk up to the receptionist desk, and the receptionist looks at you and smiles and says, "Welcome back. It's so wonderful to see you. Who are you here to see?" And you look up and you say, "Well, I need to see the one in charge." And she smiles and says, "Well, they've been expecting you." And as you walk through this wonderful lobby and you see all these people who are going in and out of offices and they're talking together, it seems a very busy place, yet it is filled with love. And as you reach the elevator, there's someone there who looks at you and smiles and says, "Oh, you're going to the top floor, right?" And you nod. And as you stand in that elevator, which of course has elevator music, but it's all your favorite tunes, all those things that inspire you. And as you watch each one of the floor buttons light up, and you know you're going straight to the top. And as you step out of the elevator, you see people walking around looking very official, and yet they're wearing robes, and they have wings. And as you pass, each one smiles and says, "Oh, so nice to see you again." He's waiting, or she's waiting, or they're waiting. And as you reach huge doors, and you do feel a little bit of butterflies in your stomach, you walk in and you see a huge desk. And there is a being sitting behind that desk, however you envision them. And you see them look up, and they smile, and they say, "Well, hello there." And you walk up, and you say, "I hate to bother you, but I need some help. Do you have a minute?" And you see that being smile, and go and get a chair and put it right next to theirs, and gesture for you to sit down. And that being looks at you and says, "Of course I have time for you. Anytime. What can I do for you?" And as you sit there, I want you to picture sharing with that being whatever is weighing on your heart. And that being looks at you and smiles and listens very attentively. And whatever it is that's in there, I want you to feel that flowing out now, and for you that you're being listened to and heard. And then when you finish those thoughts, that being looks at you with a very compassionate yet serious face, reaches over, presses a button, and says, "Hold all my calls. I'm going to be busy for a while." And you see them look at you. They hold out their arms, and you go and you get the best hug in the universe. And in your ear is whispered, "I love you, and I'm so sorry you're going through a hard time. Tell me all about it, but know that I'm here for you. And while I can't tell you what's going to happen, know that it is for your best, and I will be there." And just feel that hug around you, that understanding. And you hear, "Just wait. It's going to be amazing." And as you enjoy that hug, you allow everything that is inside of you that is doubting flow off. And you feel that love, that confidence, that knowledge that no matter how dark the road gets, you don't walk it alone. And then as you pull out from the hug and that face smiles at you and those eyes are filled with love for you, you feel yourself turn, feeling taller, feeling stronger, and always feeling that hug. And as you walk out of the office and all the angels are smiling at you, saying, you've got this, we're here. And when you enter that elevator and those doors close, and as you come back down into your life, you still feel that hug. You've got this, we've got you. I would never leave you alone. I love you. And anytime you need me, I'm there. God is loving the world by means of me. On this day I decide that I will be a great channel of love for all to see. God is loving the world by means of me. Peace abounds in my world by means of me. On this day I decide that I will be a great channel of peace for all to see. Peace abounds in my world by means of me. Joy expresses itself by means of me. On this day I decide that I will be a great channel of joy for all to see. Joy expresses itself by means of me. Love expresses itself by means of me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eileen and Tim. What a wonderful, wonderful opening. You two are so great together. Thank you very much. Well, we've got new and exciting things coming up. One of them is just this Tuesday. A wonderful Reverend Corey Gott is going to be speaking on Change Meets Love, and that is going to be on Zoom. And if any of you don't understand or realize or know what I'm talking about, then it means you don't have a program, because it's on your program. The programs are in the back, and John or Hannah will gladly hand you one. And so just know that this is a wonderful, wonderful time to hear from our president. The Universal Church of the Master President, Reverend Corey Gott, will be speaking. So we want to make a lot of it. Okay, so that's pretty exciting. When I started to do my talk, I was going to be doing it about the different phases of love. And so I looked into what the Greeks had said about it, And they said the 5 great parts of love are familial love, that love that you have for your family. Friendly love, friendship. How many of you feel you're in love with friends? It's not just about liking them, it's also about loving them. Guest love. Guest love is that people that just drop by and you don't know why, but there's a outgoing of heart. Have you ever met somebody like that? Wow, maybe you work with someone like that. You know, there's just a feeling you have. And how about playful, flirtatious love? Isn't that kind of fun? You meet somebody and you kind of giggle and laugh, you know, and talk and never see them again. But boy, it sure was fun while it lasted. Now, romantic love, that's the one we talk about the most. That love, that feeling you get when you meet somebody and you feel like you're bound together for the rest of your life, which reminds me that coming up on next Thursday, I'm going to be giving a talk on how to find your spirit guide and how to find your soulmate and then what. And that's going to be over at the USM office. So if you're interested in finding your soulmate, or you found him and you don't know what to do now, it's a great class. It's being given for our ministerial and teachers and people who are going into the ministry, but it's also available for anybody. It's going to be at 7 o'clock at the UCM office. And if you're interested in joining us, please let me know and give you some more information about it.
It's on our website too.
It's on our website. Thank you so much.
Living-ucm.org.
And the last is divine love, agape. And the Greeks put those all just right in a row. They're all of equal weight. We quite often feel if you don't love God more than everything else, there's something wrong with you. But then it dawns on you, if you don't love yourself beyond, and then what about your family? What about those friends? What about all these other beings in your life? Love can stretch, can it? It can just stretch and stretch and stretch. So, as I was reading those, I started looking up why we were celebrating Valentine's Day. And did you ever get so excited about a special sermon that you just follow an entire different thread? I mean, that's what happened to me. I found myself wandering into pre-Christian celebrations, weird bits of history, martyrdom and how Rome was named. And it was all started out talking about love, because I found St. Valentine. Now, St. Valentine's actually refers to several people. There were several beings called Valentine. But before that, there was this wonderful celebration, and it was one of those we hear a lot about fertility festivals, and it was dedicated to Faunus, the Roman god of agriculture, and as well as Romulus and Remus. Romulus and Remus should be, you are aware of who they are, not necessarily who they were, but that's what Rome was named after, with these twins. And the twins had been put to death, or at least sent away. They put them in a big boat, kind of like Moses, and sent them down the Tiber River. And they would send them down to drown. You know why? Because their mother had broken the vow of celibacy. So he was going to kill the kids.
Well, how else would they have had babies?
I don't know. This is what I did for it. But that basket was found by a wolf, by a sheer wolf. And she raised him. She nursed him, she took care of him, and she raised him in a wolf den. And that's where we get Rome. The name of Rome is from those two twins, and they were raised on the base of Palatine Hill, which is in Rome. And I thought that was really interesting. Now, the she-wolf was called Lumerca, and they had a festival to celebrate this called Lumercalia. And it was quite an interesting festival because the celebration always started out with sacrificing a dog and a goat. Now I went, why a dog?
Why a goat?
I looked at, well, they said goat, they could eat it later, or they, whatever. And I read, and everybody that I read said, and nobody knows why a dog. I mean, it was like one of those bits of history that you feel a little insecure when you read history and says nobody knows,
Yeah, that's when you reach the afterlife. It's like, I've got a question. Somebody.
But then what they did, they took the blood and they smeared it on the forehead of the two young men. And then the young men started running, and it was necessary that they laugh while they were doing it. Then they were wrapped with wool and drenched in milk. Now this is one of those celebrations and festivities that you go, I'm glad I'm not part of that. But the young women, they took strips of paper and they put their names on it and put it in a giant urn. And the single men gathered around and chose out names. And whatever name they got, they lived with that woman for a year.
Oh, I like that idea.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, and quite often they got married.
And who cares?
Yeah, I know. It was like, well, isn't that fun? And they did sacrifices even after they were living together to encourage fertility that the lady would get pregnant. So it's a very different time, but it's fun. So it eventually evolved into a celebration focused on fertility, purification, and childbirth. And it became so popular that it survived the fall of the Roman Empire. Think of that. This is a celebration that started out BC. It started out in 500 BC. And it just grew, and everybody kind of got into it, and I had never heard of it before. When I read it, I kept going, oh, look at this, look at this. But the early Romans altered the practice after the late moment on prayer, and they adopted Christianity. And when they adopted Christianity, it was sold that they couldn't do that anymore. So, that they said here, and I loved it, it said, and instead of having the girls' names, they now decided they'd place the girls' names with those of modern Christian saints. And it was said that the girl felt it was a lot less fun having it done that way. They wanted to go back to putting their names in the urn, okay? And Pope Galius I finally banned Lupercalia and by extension the festival in AD 494. By then, it had become a feast day for St. Valentinus. Now, St. Valentine, there are at least 3 legends about the life of St. Valentine. The most common is that on February 14th, during the 3rd century, a man named Valentine was executed by the Roman Emperor Claudius. After being imprisoned for assisting persecuted Christians, he was taking care of persecuted Christians and marrying the couples in love. And he was martyred for that. As the story goes, in his imprisonment, he tried converting Claudius to his view of Christianity, not Claudius's. Claudius didn't like that, and so he decided that he would be killed. But it didn't stop doing marriages. Other people, I didn't realize there was a time that the church said you could not do marriages. It sounds strange, but I don't know whether it was just of the priests or what, but it was a difficult time. But legend tells of another story that happened during Valentine's imprisonment, and many of you have heard one. He tutored a girl named Julia, the blind daughter of his jailer. The legend states God restored Julia's sight after she and Valentine prayed together. On the eve of his execution, Valentine supposedly penned a note to Julia and signed it, "From your Valentine." Isn't that kind of interesting? Thanks to St. Valentine's reputation as a patron of lovers, he became synonymous with romance in the late 5th century AD. Pope Galius eliminated the pagan celebration of Lupercalia and declared February 14th to celebrate the martyrdom of Valentine. But we still have some people that think that Lupercalia was a pretty interesting thing. I do. I still don't know why they did all the things they did back there. So it's, the love and the passion and the things that are talked about at Valentine's Day were ignored because a lot of people still felt that it was part of pagan religion, pagan rites. And it didn't really become much of an anniversary or a celebration until a lot later. But the first Valentine's Day card ever written was written in 1400. Now that's not real soon, that's not real recent. And it's the oldest written Valentine's Day greeting. And it was written by the Duke of Orleans to his wife while he was in prison in the Tower of London. Now, King Henry V also allegedly sent a valentine written by a hired writer to Catherine of Valois. Well, that's interesting. Why would you put in history that somebody hired a writer to write a love note? I don't know, but as I said, you can see why I was really excited about all the 5 and 6 stages of love and got carried away with Valentine here. So Valentine's Day gained worldwide popularity in the 17th century. By this time, it was widespread practice for friends and lovers to send each other handwritten Valentine's Day cards and tokens of their affection. But a woman named Esther Howland really changed the whole thing. In 1840, when she began selling the first mass-produced cards in this country, known as the Mother of the Valentine, she created elaborate pieces of art that had red lace, white ribbons, and colorful pictures. And then she got them from scraps that she found around her house. And almost every Valentine you're going to find has either the red lacy or the white and a colorful picture. Valentine's Day was becoming a day to celebrate romance, love, and devotion. It was celebrated by giving friends, family, and especially significant others flowers and gifts to show affection. Printed cards began to gain popularity following major advances in large-scale printing, making the exchange of cards even easier and a little bit personal, I'm afraid. Postage got more affordable around that time, and cards were often a little off color, frequently including sexual innuendos that might even make grandma blush today. Well, I haven't seen any of those. I just get, we put little Valentines there. I don't see any of those. I missed out on the sexual innuendo part. I don't know what happened.
Oh, they're there, not here.
Not here, they're
You said that so quick, Corky.
Oh, I know about those.
If I could get out and, never mind.
Yeah.
Just drive a little bit.
It's estimated we will mail or text over 1 billion Valentine's Day cards this year, not counting the ones that kids pass out in their classroom.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not surprising that women purchase 85% of all Valentines.
Wow.
So when you look your stamps this year, know that you're part of this long history of Valentine. And it's full of excitement. It's full of Roman history, weird holidays, and lots of passion. It's not just a commercial celebration. Don't forget, give other popular Valentine's Day gifts because they're fun, such as chocolates, candy hearts, or teddy bears, or celebrate by going out to dinner.
Okay.
Or possibly to the movie.
Okay.
On dates, exchanging gifts, or maybe still giving your grandmother something to blush about. Valentine's Day is also celebrated in Canada, Mexico, the United Kingdom, France, Australia, the Philippines, and the United States.
Oh.
It's also celebrated in South Africa, where women pin the name of their love interest on their shirt sleeves on February 14th, in a tradition known as Lupercalia. So it's still, I love that, having gone from putting your name into the urn and now putting the name on your shirt. And that little bit of a thread from this way, way back is still going on. One thing is clear today, whether you celebrate Valentine's Day, Lupercalia, or the satanic celebration of body autonomy, sexual liberation and reproduction. That's what they call the Church of Satan. It celebrates on Lupercalia, is sexual freedom. I thought of all of the places that celebrate things, that they're the one church, quote, that still celebrating it, but for freedom of sexuality. And I went, wow, that's interesting. But this February 14th, Valentine's Day, you should best leave out the goat sacrifices and running naked through the street.
Aw.
It's pretty cold out there.
It is cold.
So, isn't that all interesting?
Yes.
I mean, I went from one thing, I want to talk about all the different aspects of love, to finding out about Valentine and all the different beings named Valentine and how Rome got its name, all in just one, sit down and start. Well, now you're all going to help me. And I don't know, could you pass this around? I'd like each one of you to take a slip. And they have sayings on them. And
Maybe a couple even.
yeah,
Looks like you do.
if you don't like the one you have, Eileen will come back and give you another one.
Right.
Yeah. You can take two.
Remember, Tuesday is Valentine's Day, and that's when Reverend Corey Gott is doing her talk about love meets
Change meets love. And then Thursday, I'm going to be talking about getting in love with your soulmate. Yeah, how to meet your soulmate. And how to meet your soulmate is an interesting class, because invariably people will say, well, I've never met my soulmate. And you can do, what you're doing is you're putting a prayer for that person to come in, and we'll show you how to do it and how to work it, okay? And the one that I wrote is you'll know it's love when all you want is that person to be happy, even if you're not part of their happiness. That was written by Julia Roberts. How many of you?
Well, that's unconditional love for you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. How many of you have unconditional love?
I do.
Where somebody has gone off, they're not with you anymore, and all you want is for them to be happy.
Yeah.
Okay, Eileen, what is yours?
It's interesting. I pulled this one. Lots of people want to ride with you in the limo, but you want someone who will help you catch the bus. And this is by Oprah Winfrey.
Mary?
The best love affairs are those we never had.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who it's by, but I'll...
It's by Mary Berry.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, okay, Becky?
Valentine's Day is that one day a year where everyone takes the extra effort to tell their special person how much they love them. I love you.
On Valentine's Day, love is in the air and you see happy couples all around. And the other one is, on reflection, one of the things I need to learn was to allow myself to be loved.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
That's it.
Okay, Tim?
This is from Confucius. Confucius saying, love is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated.
Oh.
Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah. Christine?
The true secret of happiness lies in taking a genuine interest in all the details of daily life.
One more time. All the
The
details?
true secret of happiness lies in taking a genuine interest in all the details of daily life.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay, Christine?
Life's most persistent and urgent question is, how are you loving others? Martin Luther King Jr.
Kevin?
And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
I have someone who I can talk to about anything, and someone who I care more about than I've cared about anybody. George Clooney.
Love has nothing to do with what you are expecting to get, only with what you're expecting to give, which is everything. And this is Kathleen Hepburn.
Oh, very, very good. John, did you want to read yours?
Yeah, I didn't get one. I was,
You've got one. Okay, and one more time. What's your name?
Katana.
One more time.
Katana.
Katanas?
Katana.
Katana.
Katana. Thank you. I was calling you Hannah. Okay, Katana.
So my quote was, when you are missing someone, time seems to move slower, and when falling in love with someone, time seems to be moving faster. Taylor Swift.
Whoa, okay. And John?
the only thing we never get enough of is love. And the only thing we never give enough of is love. Henry Miller.
Oh, great. Great. And how many of you know who Henry Miller is?
I do.
Yeah, okay, he was a very interesting writer. All righty. Okay, Ed, and yours is?
I feel like Doc Sergensen on the old Tonight Show. John was okay. Hey, Doc. To be brave is to love someone unconditionally without expecting anything in return. Madonna.
Madonna.
Ooh,
All right. And I mean, if I could have the basket. And now, does anybody want to take another one? Anybody else interested in? Oh, I just think they're so interesting because there's things that you never thought people would think that way. When you think about love, how many of you think about when we're talking about Valentine's Day? How many of you, when you're thinking about Valentine's Day and love, do you actually feel about how the other person feels for you? Are you more interested in how you feel about them? Now think about that. How many of you really sit and think, how do they feel about me? Because what I found when I'm doing counseling, and I do a lot of talking to people about love when I do a psychic reading, they're always saying, well, they did this and they did that and they did. I said, what were they thinking? And they go, well, they don't like me. I said, what did they say? Did they say? And we finally boil it down and synthesize it to the person is saying what they think they said but has never said to them. What do you mean by that? So when you're in a relationship and you don't want to hear anything, that you don't want to talk to them, you don't like what they're saying, just stop a minute and say, now, what did you mean by that? Because I'm confused. Because I find so many times in relationships that don't work, it's that confusion. It's not about a lack of love. It's about a lack of understanding where they're coming from or what's happening. I had a client call last week, and she's all upset. She says, I'm sure my husband's cheating on me. And I said, okay. And she said, I want to know if he's cheating on me. I said, I'm not going to be reading your husband, which is what I do in a reading, but I will tell you what's going on with your feelings and what's happening. You feel he's not paying any attention to you. And she said, well, yeah. I said, but you haven't been paying any attention to him. And she said, well, after all, I'm 84, whatever it was. I said, yes. And she said, well, he's boring. I said, well, doesn't he feel that you think he's boring? Oh. Have you rubbed his back lately? Have you touched him? Well, we're not having sex. He's an old dude. I said, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, let's just have you change the way you're looking at him. and give him a back rub or rub his feet or just touch him. Instead of looking at things he's doing wrong, let's start looking at what can you do right? And she says, you know what I think it is? I said, what? She says, we haven't, well, she said, honestly, Dottie, he can't have sex these days. I said, okay. She said, well, do you think he's talking to somebody who likes to listen to him?
Probably.
I said, now, don't you think maybe you've solved that a bit? She said, yeah, if I was say, I would like to have somebody want to listen to me. And she says, I think I'm going to do that. So I got a call from her just 2 days later, said, it's so amazing. I asked my husband, what did he want? Would he like me to listen to him? And he said, yes, please.
Nice.
Well, yeah. Now, does it make any difference if there was another woman? When you think about it, it doesn't really. Because the only thing it hurt was she thought that somebody else was listening to him, but she wasn't listening to him. And so I look at this when I'm doing readings about people and what's going on where they're making their spouse wrong. Because quite often they have gone through all these different they have been friends, they have been partners, they have been lovers, they have been sometimes going to church together and looking into what we call agape love. They have experienced all the different phases of love. But the one that they're missing is the friendship. That friendship, it's like you stay with somebody for a long time and you cease being friends. And so when you're thinking about it during this time of Valentine's Day, look around and say, look at all the friends I have. They might not be living in your house with you, but you love them. Make a point. Call your friends on Valentine's Day, or drop by with cookies, or do whatever your expression is of love. Some people's love expression is calling someone and playing the music they like on the phone. I like that when I pick up the phone and it's playing my favorite song. Find some expression of your love for people in your life. And while you're doing it, start looking at this wonderful agape love of how do you love God? How do you express that? Today we did it so beautifully with a meditation and with a song. We did so much here that was so beautiful about expressing love. Now, Tim didn't sit down and say, I'm just here to express love. He sat down and played a beautiful song to let us know his heart is full. You could just feel that from him. You can feel that his heart is full. He didn't even have to say it. The same thing with Dr. Eileen, that wonderful meditation of going and meeting Creator. I mean, how beautiful. That's pure agape love. That's pure love of the divine. So when you think about people and what's going on Valentine's Day, think of how do they express their love language? How do they express it? Some people, communication by words is beyond them. When you say, well, why don't you talk? Why don't you say something? Any of you ever put yourself in that position? Why don't you say something? How come you're just sitting there? Well, why don't you talk to me? Da, 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 da. And they just kind of get, and just stop and say, why don't we just touch hands? Why don't we just hold hands? There's so many different ways to communicate when you're talking about love. It doesn't just have to be words. Sometimes it can be pictures. I don't know if any of you are like, for instance, with Valerie, her art is beautiful. For her to sit down and draw a picture and give it to somebody for Christmas or birthday or anniversary or Valentine's Day, that's a gift of sheer love, because that's coming from her heart. And some of you, it's not that. Some of you sing, some of you bake. You know, somebody will bake a chiffon pie, and I'm in love. I mean, it's just, think of the love language that other people have. Some people will come over. I have a man who comes over to our house, and crawls underground, underground, under our house, and gets rid of weird things under there. I don't even ask what's under there. But he does it and comes in and I say, hey, what do I owe you? And he said, oh no, that's okay. That's love. Service. When people give you a service, that's what they have to offer. That's love. When our wonderful Ed comes here every Sunday morning,
He loves us.
It's because this man loves us. Now, he's not going to put it in words. That's not the type of person he is. At least he hasn't run up and say, hey, baby, I love you dearly, or anything like that.
I'll mic you up, dearly.
Yeah, I'll mic you up. That's his love language. I'll take care of the mic. I'll play music if you like. We had that today. But think about, what are you doing to show people that you love them? April comes and picks us up from home, drives us here, sets up the altar, makes sure the chairs are set up, helps with the wiring, fix the coffee. What's that all about?
Drives us to class.
Yeah, that's
sits down to
love.
lecture, takes us home.
You
Takes us
think
out.
about how, her love language is helping to be there for people. And I know with Mary, her love language is being with her granddaughter and helping her grandmother find out who she is. And Joan loves everybody. I mean, I see her, she brings in every stray person she meets and says, hey, how are you? What's going on? Many of you didn't see Maria when she was working at the post office, but I don't know how many of you have ever walked into a post office and felt like it was a strange and remote world. And Maria was always there with a smile and always a helping hand. Christine is one of these people, both Christines, that when they look at you, they smile. Kevin, I heard Kevin laugh this morning, and it was overwhelming. I've never heard him just laugh out loud. And I could feel it from my toes all the way up. That's that friendship love, when somebody's laugh just really works with you. So think about that, and then I have my wonderful wife, and when the things she does is remarkable. She is injured, she can't move one arm, she's going through a difficult time, and yet every morning I'm awakened with a cup of hot coffee. And says, good morning. She doesn't complain. All she does is please. There are people like that. Look at John. John comes here and he helps us set up. He helps us move chairs. He's always there. He makes sure that people don't come in that haven't been vaccinated. I mean, that's a hard job. Because some people argue with him, don't they, John? Yeah, some people do. And yet he helps us. And that's a part of that giving of love. Gabrielle, when she brings in that food, and I bet that food's coming in pretty soon, that's her shot. That's her. She doesn't have to do that. She could say, I want the food. I don't have anything to do with it. But instead, she brings it in. Last week, all the food we had on our table at night came from Billy DeFrank. That is that giving, that service of love. So as you're going through the next few days and Valentine's and all of the hullabaloo about Valentine's, and I hope you all got the sucker that came with my sucker had absolutely no flavor, but it sure crunched well. I can find the good in anything.
And it tastes good when you use it as a stir in your coffee.
What?
It was a heart.
It's a heart. It was love. I mean, it's a sign of love. Yes, a heart's a sign of love. But think of, and that's what I want to leave you with, is what I want you to do for this, as I say, this week, at least the next 3 days, is talk about love. Tell people you love them. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt if you get on the bus and you say, good morning, I love you, to the driver. It usually gets you a better place and a softer ride. I mean, it's amazing. And Gabrielle, did you want to share your pink slip that I gave you?
No.
Okay. But what I'm telling everybody, you're sharing love when you bring us food.
Yay!
So Gabrielle that's her way of showing it.
Dottie?
Yes.
Zoomer's had a couple comments we'll catch up on.
Okay.
From Susan, where there is love, there is life.
Oh, yes.
From Ruth, that's pretty much how I saved my marriage many, many years ago. I focused solely on what I could do right with the help of the divine. Back to Susan, all you need is love. Love but a little chocolate now and then doesn't hurt.
Right on it.
And then Sky chimed in, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope. Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
And then back to Susan. Love that, Sky. We're caught up. Continue.
Oh, thank you. My friend Sky, I have known longer than anybody in this room. I met her when she was like 19. And she's grown up to be such a beautiful, wonderful woman. And I'm so glad that she watches us. Because she's one of those people who has personified love in my life for almost as long as I've known her. And that is so great when you can watch a young person grow and watch them change and accept them for who they are. Because you're going to realize that all the things they've gone through and are going through is their way of growing. I don't know how many of you have children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren, and you insist on telling them how to grow up. Don't, because all it's going to do is drive a wedge. Please, with all the kids I've had in my life, every time you meet a child, however old, of God's child, just say, I love you. It's one of the best greetings that you can do. And if you say, but that's not true, I don't really love them. Think of them as a guest in your life for just a moment and love the guests that appear in your life. And it's now time to pass the basket.
Can get it?
Nice boots, Mary.
Sure. I like it.
Thank you, Mary.
So we have our saying that we say.
Oh, no, there she goes. Here goes.
And regarding love, sometimes love has a very high price to it. But remember that the price of love will never exceed the power of it. And giving to the ministry from which I receive my spiritual support and nurturing is an affirmation and consciousness of the truth that spirit is the prospering power enriching every area of my life.
And please put love out to our wonderful Reverend Dr. Janet Childs, who was not feeling too well today. We want her to be healthy and to be feeling herself again, because herself is one of the greatest selves we know. So we really do appreciate that, and we really want that. And at this point in time, I'm going to ask the Reverend Joan Stutz to come up and do a closing prayer. Thank you so much, Mary. There you go. Here you are. And you're wearing your red?
I purposely wore red.
Yay! Happy Valentine's!
Yeah. I wore a heart that belonged to my mother.
Oh, sweet.
You get a chance, you can look at that later. Okay?
I want to tell you a story and ask you to pray for an unannounced group in Turkey, and there was a city that was totally devastated. Somebody was taking a picture of it. All the buildings were leveled except one. The building that housed the civil engineers.
Oh my gosh.
What happened was the civil engineers followed the building instructions and requirements. And I heard on the radio that many buildings were not completed according to instructions because of bribes and their culture and, different things. So not only are people suffering in that area because of loss of life and devastation, but there has to be a number of people suffering from the guilt of not following the instructions and having the buildings fall down. Wouldn't that be terrible?
Yes.
So they need our prayers as well. My son-in-law is a paramedic, and he was asked to work today because it is Super Bowl Sunday and because there is domestic violence rampant on Super Bowl Sunday. So another group that needs our prayer that we don't often think of. And
They were protesting down the street where they're building one of those giant stacking paths, apartment complexes. And the men that worked there were protesting, saying that the materials that they were using and the people that they were using to build weren't adequate for what they should have been, and they weren't following the rules.
Here in San Jose?
Yeah, on Bascom Avenue.
so perhaps it's not limited to Turkey. Amazing, huh?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to join me in prayer right now, letting our worries and our fears just ease away. Put them aside and concentrate on the goodness of God, because there is always the goodness of God in every situation. And Mother, Father, God, we call on this extreme goodness, this gift of goodness to come into our lives right here and right now, and to go out into the community as we watch this wave of love and spirit and anticipation of goodness coming to us, because life is basically good. Looking for goodness is the purpose of life, I believe. And I encourage you to look for goodness in every situation. We pray for our Reverend Janet, who's not feeling well today. We pray for the people who are engrossed in the sporting events, remembering that family is important, that our love comes from family and with family. And we pray for all of our workers out and hoping that they will do the best that they can, best that they know how. And we give thanks for Reverend Dottie's historical revelations of Valentine's Day. Because it's so interesting to travel on these lines. And, following your interests is one of the keys to love. Just what are your interests? What are you interested in? And how can you spread that interest and share it? And have open the door for sharing for the many interests that we all have. And as I get to know people, I'm always amazed at their level of interest in different things, even the historical value of Valentine's Day. So we go forward into this week with great love, with great compassion, with great understanding, and just seeking to give love, to open doors to conversations, and to knowing that people give the best that they can give most of the time. And so we accept that goodness and give thanks and move on. Thank you, God, for today. Thank you for being with us and for lighting the way forward. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Hey, Di,
Yes,
would you read the title of Dr. Eileen's talk for next week? I think that's an interesting title.
okay. Next week, Dr. Eileen is going to be talking Blessings to Beads, the season of Epiphany and Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras, next week.
Okay, so please, we're going to be giving beads. We're going to be boisterous. We're going to be excited because this is a time of year that for those of you who are raised Christian, we're going into Lent. But before we go into Lent, we're going to celebrate. We're gonna eat, drink, have fun, and do the things you give up for Lent. So we want to do a Blessings to the Beads, and that's going to be next week, February 19th. And we're so excited about having Dr. Eileen back talking to us. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Joan.
If any of you haven't heard about the food, I'm sure you all have, that we have been donated, please go by and pick up some food and take it home with you. And as you're eating it, say, thank you, Billy the Prank. We love you for feeding our bodies, and we love CCL for feeding our souls, and so it is.
So it is.
Good.
Woohoo! Good day.